First, today we are taking action. I want you to stay tuned for how you can turn around a toxic work environment. You will have to take responsibility. It will be uncomfortable. It is going to take work. But without this effort, without this focus, your team, and you already are feeling it, is going to continue to be mired in gossip, walking through sludge, feeling like you're in quicksand because you've got low engagement, productivity has decreased, there's an increase in frustration, increase in anger. The list goes on and on. And today I'm going to share 5 steps that you can take to begin the process of healing and why it matters. So I'm going to go ahead and roll the intro. In the past few months, I have seen increasingly a lot of content that's focused on how team members can recognize if they're in a toxic work environment, if their work environment is turning toxic, and advice to candidates to notice red flags. Anyone remember when the red flags when the red flag emoji was super popular? But how candidates can even recognize red flags during the hiring process, even just by reading the job description. Listen, toxicity shows its head if you're looking for it. And the advice consistently is for those people, team members, candidates to run in the opposite direction as quick as they can. You're listening to Leadership Untitled with Kareen Turner. That's me. I am a leadership development expert and executive coach. And this is episode 33 of this podcast. If you are joining in from LinkedIn, please give me a follow. If you are watching from YouTube, subscribe, like, and comment so that we can continue to grow this movement. Those small actions that are free to you have a really big impact on this content getting out into the universe. So I always encourage you to follow, subscribe, like, and comment. Let's jump back into it. Today, I'm talking to you, leaders, from the opposite perspective. As I shared it, especially over the great resignation time, and even now, as we're talking about layoffs, there's still colleagues of mine who are telling me that they can't fill positions. There are friends of mine who are saying their coworkers have left and it's been months and they've taken on the extra work and there's been no relief. So I know leaders, owners, organizations, you want people to run towards you and not away from you. Because even in our current landscape of increased layoffs, organizations are still looking and desiring for team members, for employees, for leaders to join them who are going to help move their mission, vision, and values forward, who are going to help get their services out into the world. There will always be that need. And so unless you as leaders address a toxic environment, an unhealthy environment, then you will not be attracting these team members and you'll lose them worse from your team. Before I jump into those 5 steps, I want to acknowledge and congratulate the leaders, the owners at organizations who have made the decision to start healthy. If you are a leader who's listening to this, you're like, I have made a concerted effort to create an open environment, a transparent environment, a communicative environment where team members are held consistently to a standard across the board. I've worked to create an inclusive environment, an environment where my team members feel that they belong And it's demonstrated through the engagement that we are experiencing. It's demonstrated through our employee engagement surveys, through 360 feedback. However, you are measuring it, I congratulate you because chances are you've not just chosen to start with a healthy work environment, you've also chose to remain there because it's not a set and done process. It is continuous improvement. And I also want to acknowledge that you may be a leader who's entering into a toxic work environment, into an unhealthy work environment. You may be in one now and wondering, wow, how did I not recognize it? Or maybe you knew it, you saw the red flags, but you could be like me, where it's a challenge that you're ready to take on because you know that you can be of greater service in this way. Part of what sets me personally on fire as a leader, it's not just being able to align with the mission, vision, and values of an organization. It is also being able to have a positive impact on the people who are doing the work to serve the customers or to serve the clients or producing the products. It's for me to be able to serve them and to empower them and to enrich their work lives. Now, I'm not a leader who will say that we are a family because I'm not your family as a work environment. I we're There's still processes, there are still procedures, there are still structures, systems in place that make it that we're not actually a family, but we are a community. And I read that somewhere, I believe it was Adam Grant who I heard that from, that definitely not a family, and I have had that feeling consistently, but I felt that his description of community was really powerful because as a community, we're working together towards one goal and we can enrich each other's lives. And so that is one of my passions as a leader. It's not just for the nuts and bolts of the work of what the organization does. It is also my ability to have a positive impact, and that is my goal on a team member's life. So you may be like that too, and maybe you're in an environment that you didn't necessarily contribute to or create, and you are looking for guidance on the best ways of how to move forward. So again, congratulations to those who have done the work. And if you're a leader who's had an epiphany and you're just like, I'm in over my head. I recognize that I have been part of this problem, that my lack of action, that my actions have led to this, and I no longer want to be a part of this environment. I want to help rise above it and take my role as a leader to help move out of it. Then this episode is for you. So let's jump into these 5 steps. 1, acknowledge the problem. Transparency will be key here. I saw it recently on LinkedIn, actually multiple posts on LinkedIn about what it takes to build trust on behalf of a leader. And almost 99ish percent of the time, like 98% of the responses in my unofficial count, it was transparency and communication. Increase communication and transparency. When you are working to build trust, which is the foundation of a healthy work environment and rooting out toxicity, it is acknowledging the problem because everybody knows that there's a problem. You know it, your team members know it, their family members know it, your family members know it, friends know it, other departments know it. If you own the organization, the whole organization knows it's toxic. And so you putting words to it isn't drawing attention to something that they don't already know. Because I know as leaders, sometimes we hold back on, I guess, bad news because we don't wanna draw attention to it. We don't wanna make it bigger than what we think it is. But the but the problem with that is that in you not acknowledging what everyone knows, it makes you seem ineffective, and it makes it seem like you're hiding something or attempting to sweep a pretty big problem under the carpet. So everybody already knows. So you acknowledging it allows for transparency, allows for your team to just take a deep breath and breathe out. Okay, it's out there. We're all aware of it. Now, it can't just stop there. It can't just stop with acknowledging. We're going to talk about the rest of the steps. But as I shared in last week's episode 32, when we put a name to an experience that our team members may be having, it helps to release them from the feelings of, am I imagining this? Am I being too sensitive? Or feeling that what they're sharing is being minimized. And so it is allowing that deep breath and the beginning of that release when you acknowledge the problem publicly and have a conversation about it. Step two, part of that conversation, if this applies to you, is you apologizing for the role that you've played. Because if you have been the leader that's been in place where this environment has grown, this toxicity, this infestation has taken root and grown, then you are definitely part of the problem. Again, whether it is through you ignoring it, so you're in action, or you are actively participating in the behavior. So it's important to apologize so that you can move forward. Again, in last week's episode, number 32, I talked about how putting a name to an issue or to a problem or to an experience helps to be healing, but also acknowledging it and apologizing can go a great distance to that healing. Even if it is a group apology, it can help a great deal towards beginning the healing process and the building trust process. So, three, you're going to round or talk to your team members. This is your opportunity to get perspective. The conversation about acknowledging the problem and apologizing, you can share that you'll be talking to as many team members as you can, setting the stage. Often, what can lead to an unhealthy or toxic work environment is the leader knows best mentality. It's that top down, I know what the problem is, I'm going to fix it, I know the solution, and we're pushing solutions down that we think are going to resolve the issue without ever talking to the people who are experiencing it, whether it is a toxic work environment, whether it is solving an issue, a process issue, or something with a product or a service. We don't involve the team members. This is not the time that you're going to do that. This is your opportunity again to get perspective. You're going to ask questions, you're going to listen, and you're also going to observe. Observing body language goes a great deal towards telling how comfortable people are. And they may not be comfortable with you initially as you're building trust. And this process may take the longest part of it. They take the longest to really get down to the root of how people are feeling and why they're feeling the way that they are. What is it specifically about the work environment? What is it specifically about behaviors that are leading to feelings of not being safe, not belonging, not feeling that they're included? And this step 3, talking to your team members, should probably take the longest as you are working to get a full understanding of what's happening. Once you have a general idea of what's going on, your fourth step is to create a plan of action. So, what needs to be added? Increased communication, increased transparency, systems, structures, processes that uphold the ultimate goal of creating a healthy environment. What needs to be deleted? Systems, processes, structures that have led to exclusionary behavior. You are going to have difficult conversations, and I talk about crucial conversations in episode 31, how to have a crucial conversation. You may have top performers, high performers, as we call them, A players, who are part of the problem with their behavior. And because they are top performers, because they produce well, you may have turned a blind eye to their behavior that is contradictory to what you know to be part of a healthy work environment. And now's the time that that has to stop. And it's part of creating those systems, processes, structures. It's my favorite phrase. It's part of creating those systems, processes, structures that you are going to be sure that you have a clear path to have conversations about behavior. Of course, we're going to call out behavior, not call out people. We're going to respect people, call out behavior, give them an opportunity to change, to shift, give them the resources, give them the support. But ultimately, you may have to, through a process, part ways with team members that are high producing, that are considered A players, but only from a productivity standpoint. If you have one person that you are willing to sacrifice the entire team for, then that is a toxic person. That is a toxic work environment. And can you imagine if you removed that poor behavior from your team, what the rest of the team as a collaborative could do? We minimize the efforts of the whole too often for one person. So again, you're going to address behavior and you're going to call out behavior. You're not going to disrespect a person, and you're going to give them as many tools, resources, and support that they need in order to help them shift. Number 5, you're gonna set new expectations based on that plan of action and the changes that have been made in your processes, and you're going to take action and you're going to be consistent. Too often, we get stuck in the talking and the creating, steps 3 and 4, and we never move to execution. We stop short of execution. Whether it's too much planning, whether it's even fear that might be holding us back, the fact is that it never comes to fruition in a way that our initial conversation promised, the commitment that we made to the team as a whole, to the organization, that things would change. And I'm sure even you as leaders today have experienced that yourself, that we've all been in environments where there's a lot of big talk but very little follow through on what happens. There are a few difficult conversations, and it seems like things are going to turn around, but very quickly, we all fall back into our old habits, which is why it's not just a set and done. Okay, we've done this thing. Now I can like take a step back. It has to be top of mind and it has to be consistent that you are taking action. So again, those 5 steps are: acknowledge the problem, apologize for your role, talk to your team, round to your team members so that you are asking, listening, and observing. You're going to 4, create a plan of action, and 5, set those new expectations, be consistent, take action. You are going to execute. Rebuilding trust is the goal of this process, and it doesn't just happen with lip service. We have to take action. We have to hold to the commitments that we have made to not just ourselves, but to our team members. Because you're only going to be given a few opportunities to make amends before that door closes. And why do you care if that door closes, if the bond of trust is broken? Well, the team member who truly is your A player, even though they might not look like it on paper, but given an opportunity, given the right environment, they would show up and show out for you, for the organization. They may leave, but worse, they may stay and just be unengaged and do the bare minimum. The turnaround during this time will not be quick, as I shared at the top. It's not going to be quick. It will be uncomfortable, and you may lose team members in the process that you are just like, "Ugh, that team member, how am I going to survive without them?" I have been there, and your team will rise in ways that you can't even imagine. And I want you to think about as you're setting your mindset and preparing to attack this toxic environment, I want you to think about your frustration dissipating, your team's frustration dissipating, anger decreasing, gossip being eliminated, creating a collaborative environment where your team can flourish, where they can come and do the work that they said yes to. They said, "Yes, I want to spend 40 plus hours of my week doing this work for this organization." As their productivity increases, as their performance increases, it is absolutely worth the effort that you can make to build trust and turn it around. It won't be easy. And I know I've said that a few times because in the middle of it, it can seem like it's not worth it, but it absolutely is. If you enjoyed this episode, I want you to share it as we continue to build this movement. I want you to share it with your team as a catalyst for conversations that maybe you don't know how to start. Use me. Use me, use this episode to help start the conversation and to begin that transparent journey, that increased communication journey. If you want to learn more about my services, I invite you to visit leadershipuntitledinstitute.com. And I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for being here each week and making a commitment to your leadership development. I will see you the next time.